Hi, everybody. My name is Tony Vargas. I'm proud to be a state senator representing District 7. That's downtown in South Omaha. I got elected in 2016. I've been serving since 2017. I proudly serve on the Appropriations Committee. That's our budget committee. And I also proudly serve as our chairperson for the Legislative Planning Committee. That's why we're here today. I wanted to give you a very brief update on the Planning Committee, our recommendations, trying to keep this succinct. So, Planning Committee came out of a legislation introduced by Senator Harms, LB 653, with the intention of looking at data, helping data help us make decisions as a body, rather than just focusing on policy. Let's look at the emerging trends that are guiding what's happening in our state and trying to react to them and inform what we do collectively rather than just individually. And so this committee is a special committee. It's appointed by the executive board, and it's 9 members, pretty geographically diverse across the state. I'm proud we have a vice chair, John McAllister, and the speaker and the chair of the executive board and 6 other members. Together, we work on providing recommendations, digging into this data so that we can then educate the rest of the legislative colleagues of mine and senators on what they can do that's going to help improve the state of Nebraska. Planning Committee, in particular this year, has been focusing on a lot of different data points. And we work in hand with CPAR and Dr. Schaefer so that we can then look at what data should be really driving some of our education and policy. We want to be informed as possible. And so we came up with 5 different priority areas that matter to us as a body. We went through a whole strategic planning session that allowed us to then be very generative and then whittle this down to 5 different areas. So I want to share the 5 ones with you. First is rainy day fund. We want to make sure we're increasing and creating policy that supports a robust rainy day fund so that we have appropriate savings in our savings account as a state of Nebraska. So if anything were to happen, similar to this last year with flooding or any different types of economic downturns, we are prepared. We are in a pretty good place, but we should not look at that as a reason to not do more in policy to then support our rainy day fund. 2, rural development. Enough data is telling us that rural Nebraska is depopulating or shrinking in regards to urban Nebraska. In relation to it, we're seeing an increase there. As a state, our economy still is driven not only in urban Nebraska, but in rural Nebraska. We have major economy driven by agriculture and manufacturing. So there's a conversation, a recommendation that we need to do something to develop, prioritize rural development and do what we can to support this strategically across the state. And that's looking at things like broadband, agribusiness, affordable and accessible housing, and even trying to figure out ways to support rural workers, remote workers. Retaining and attracting 18 and 34-year-olds was our 3rd recommendation area. We saw a huge need for this because we are competing with other states. We have an outward migration of individuals with bachelor's degrees. We want to make sure that there are more individuals in the state that we can then keep. Increasing higher median incomes across the state, particularly trying to drive individuals into jobs that are H3 jobs. We're talking about high wage, high skill, high demand jobs. And also looking at ways that we can then increase the number of technology jobs that exist across the state. We are lucky to have some in our state already, but making sure we have more of those jobs available. And then the last piece of that was making sure we're creating a more inclusive and vibrant and welcoming Nebraska. And there's a lot of ways we can do that, but we wanted to make sure that that's a priority area within retaining and attracting 18, 34-year-olds. Workforce training was another area we wanted to then focus on, specifically creating a stronger pipeline between the K through 12 and the workforce, finding ways that we can then improve access to college, technology programming, lowering unemployment rate and the number of people with more than one job, and reducing the number of unfilled jobs in the state of Nebraska. And our last area, our 5th area, is probably the most foundational, is improving K through 12 educational outcomes, or really birth through 12. Looking at proficiency rates at 3rd, 8th grade, and 11th grade, increasing those, increasing GED equivalency rate, increasing our coverage of needed and prioritized educational services, and decreasing our absence and truancy rate. These 5 areas are what we're recommending that we focus on as a body. And what I love about this committee is we're making this recommendation not just to the public, but to my fellow senators so that they can look at this and see that how their policy agendas align with this so that we can then help improve what we need to then prioritize as a state. And so I want to thank you for listening to me. Thank the members of the committee, the Legislative Planning Committee, and for the public. If you want to keep being informed, contact our office, contact CPAR, contact your state senators, and tell them that you saw this video and engage in a conversation about what we need to do to help improve the state of Nebraska. Thank you.